I'm Ginny Robertson, founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine and founder of the On Purpose Woman global community. I'm here with Shelly O'Connell for a Writer in the Spotlight interview where I chat with the contributing writers in the current issue of On Purpose Woman magazine. Welcome, Shelly. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here always.
Yes. Well, before we talk about your article this issue, tell our viewers about you.
I am a flirting coach for women and the author of Finding Your Flirt. It's a little book of tips and exercises for women to help them get their flirt on. I help them reframe flirting as a form of play and let go of the made-up rules about it that limit women, that pretty much are just lies from patriarchy. And the reason I have women tap into flirting is because it just brings so much radiance and connection and everything to your life. I'll really talk about that a little bit more. I also have, I was trained with the life coach at the Institute of Life Coach Training, and I have a master's of divinity and bachelor's of behavioral science. So I bring all that into the coaching that I do.
Yeah. And every time I talk with you, whether it's in an interview or you're in the On Purpose Woman global community Zoom meeting, I say you are still the first and only flirting coach I've met. So I'm never going to talk about your specific article, but I'd love for you to tell everybody why you started this, because there's a story behind it, I believe.
There totally is. I consider myself an expert flirt. It runs sort of in my family. And also I like to say I'm fluent in dudes. So I understand men, not just the players, but actual real authentic men and how to connect with them and, you know, how they think and work and operate in the world. So I had a friend of mine ask me at a women's conference that we met and went to if I would help her remember how to flirt. She used to be able to do that and was divorced and been single for a while and was wanting to get back into that. And for years, friends have said to me, why are men always falling all over you trying to do this? And I'm like, yeah, men just love me. I shrug my shoulder and think about it. But with that weekend, other women began to comment on that too. My friend and I did practice, and we've had a great time. But what I noticed from these women was, first off, all of them were single, didn't want to be, and they were oblivious. They had like those walls up that we put up as women for many, many reasons. But the problem with walls is they don't let you see sometimes past the wall. So you miss people trying to give you cues, and you also, I think, miss some of the beauty that life is offering to you. And it really bothered me, that this kept happening to them. And I'm like, these ladies need help, and I could help them. So I came home and I wrote Finding Your Flirt, and put it out into the world. So far, everybody that's read it has loved it, and I purposely made it small to keep so you don't lose. You can practice tips and you don't lose the information. Sometimes I feel like for myself in the self-help book, there's so much information that I don't apply it all.
Right. Yeah.
So that happened. And then I was doing life coaching at the time, and I was enjoying it, except for it was very similar to the crisis intervention work that I had done. And I didn't feel as though it was where I wanted to take women, which is lifting them and helping them to be liberated to their full, radiant shine and power and, badassery in the world. And so people who read the book asked for more information, and that developed into developing a whole flirting coaching, and I have a whole program, but we can do individual, all those things. And I'm finding that it's a way to enter into working on yourself, but you also have a lot of fun in the meantime, and I think we need more of that.
And we're going to talk about that because your article in this September-October issue is called Flirting, Fun, and Confidence. And it's the third in a series of articles about flirting. And in this article, you're speaking primarily to women who are on fire. You say they're out there making things happen. And the downside of that is they can burn to the ground or just get out of balance. And you offer this easy technique to help them be more balanced. And there's all kinds of techniques out there to feel more balanced. I have never seen anyone say that flirting can be a technique to be balanced. So you say that flirting can do that for you. How does that work?
Well, let me just say, I'm not discounting all the serious work, but many of us have been there and done the serious work. And
Mhm.
I really feel like um, we need a little more playful engagement in our life. We need a little bit more of the gifts of play. And we, as women, we've really not been given the opportunity in most cases to play. We're conditioned out of it pretty early,
Mhm.
and most of the women that I work with are really rocking it. I mean, they are like on fire in such good ways in all other areas of their life. But when it comes to dating and relationships and sort of being connected to themselves in a way that they're radiant, they're lacking, they're missing, and they're wanting it.
Mhm.
So flirting, we've been conditioned to think it means that if we're flirting is to gratify a man. That's not true. We flirt because it is a form of play and it's fun. And when you flirt, one of the things I talked about in the article is when you flirt, what we don't recognize is when we play, we're present in the moment, but we also are having fun. That releases endorphins, which gets the stress right off of you, right? It's completely like in a moment's time
Mhm.
of flirting can just completely shift your whole perspective. So it does that. It you have laughter, that restores things too, and the endorphins things. It also heightens cognition. So, when we get in our minds so much, it's not that I'm asking you to be more in your mind, but it heightens things in a way that you notice and participate things that you would have probably missed before,
Mhm.
because we have that wall or those blinders on. And endorphins, we all know, helps us feel better. It heightens our mood. We
Yeah.
feel great.
Yeah. You reminded me of something that a friend said to me many years ago before I met my husband, Don. We've been together for about 32 years, so it's been a long time. I was single for about 9 years between my first and second husband, that I was lamenting, I really want to meet someone. I really want to meet someone. I was, busy corporate career, single mom, just doing it all. And it was a guy friend who said to me, Jenny, a man would have to throw himself on the hood of your car to get your attention.
It's true.
I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And but when I think back, I'm one of those women you were talking about who was just kind of oblivious. I wouldn't have noticed a man flirting with me if he was blatant about it. It was like, I would just think he was probably a jerk or something, or I would not even
Mhm.
notice because I'm so, and trust has a lot to do with it too. If you've
Sure,
been,
absolutely.
I'm
Mhm.
sure that's why a lot of women, me included, don't even want to think about flirting because it's like, oh, but I want to be, I don't know how to put that. What just came to me though is that you can really be in charge of the dialogue and the dynamic when you're flirting, when you're the one that
Absolutely.
initiates the flirt, right?
Absolutely. Um, I'm glad you pointed to trust because, one of my backgrounds is crisis intervention. I was program director for rape crisis. So I'm always going to attend to safety,
Yeah.
but I frame it up differently. And one of the first things I do is work with women about boundaries. That's something we have walls, but we haven't been taught how to create healthy boundaries, nor have we been taught that we have power, you
Or to
know,
actually own the power. Yeah.
or to own it or how to own it.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole premise is, we have all these made up rules for women, right? Be this, but they often contradict, like be sexy, but no, not that sexy, only sexy for me. Or, oh, if you're flirting, it means you want to have sex with me, or
Makes
and
your head
that's really
explode,
not
doesn't it? Yeah.
true, right? And it's just a constant barrage
Mhm.
of things. And so one of the very first things I do when I work with somebody is we work on boundaries. Because once you have that and you hold those, then it frees you to recognize you have the power. You create the rules, and whoever you flirt
Mhm.
with it plays within those rules. So, for example, you don't have to just be single to flirt. I'm married. I've been married for 37 years. I always have to stop and think. And we lived together before that. Still the most fun to flirt with, and I think it keeps a relationship fresh. Um, but if you're not in a relationship, flirting can also help you either way to reclaim yourself, to reclaim the power yourself. And so couple of my boundaries are I'm married and faithful. So if I'm flirting with someone else, it's going to be playful, but there's always that line,
Mhm.
right? And another boundary that I have is respect for myself. And I fully expect that everybody else is going to respect me. And they do. So I never have inappropriate behavior from men.
Wow, those
So
are really great. Yeah.
those things are really, really key. And I always attend to that whenever, I'm working with somebody to
Mhm.
help them reap the benefits of flirting and play. It's key, foundational.
Yeah. You just gave me a thought. I've heard you say a number of times that you flirt with, cashiers at the checkout line. If they're women, and it came to me that flirting can also be an expression of you're just letting your personality come through. And so many
Yes,
of us have stifled our personalities because of conditioning, whether it's
right.
corporate conditioning or how we grew up, I mean, how many, I can remember being in a room with little girls and little boys, and the little girls were told to settle down, and to be quiet, and little boys, they're just not paying any attention, and they're running around breaking stuff, and nobody's
Sure.
noticing, but we're supposed to be quiet and polite and all of that. And so
Hmm.
our personalities, our natural expression can get stifled, can't it?
Yes, I think so. And I think one of the things that I'm working with ladies is, with flirting is building confidence. And the confidence is helping you to really uncover the true aspects of yourself that may
Mhm.
have been stifled.
Yeah.
And once, and you know this, Jenny, once you relax into yourself in a confident way, you then begin to gain more and more confidence.
Mhm. So true.
It's funny how that works.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think all of that conditioning was by accident. I think it was an intentional thing. You don't make up rules for people, like I said, that have no power. Um, there would be no need to do that. So we have power. We've had it all along. It's just that we, as women, I think, have more of a struggle to overcome it and reclaim some of the joy and beauty and fun and laughter and enjoyment in life. And that's really what we're doing with flirting coaching.
I love that. And we also haven't had until, it's been maybe I'm older than you. I didn't have role models for that confidence. As a teenager, I had a few women that I looked at and went, oh, they're very different from my mother, because my mother
Mm-hmm.
was very traditional, and she was traditional, in some ways, but she was also into fashion and lots of, but she was follow the rules. She still knew her place, if you will, and followed the rules.
Yeah.
And I didn't see other women doing that until the early 70s. And when I started seeing them doing that, it was like, oh my gosh, we can do that. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing and wonderful that you give women a role model for, yeah, we can do that. And it's sad to me today that there are still women who don't know that, but there are.
Right.
And there are probably a lot of them, and even younger women still don't know that, because
It's
some are
true.
still entrenched in the old way, maybe based on their own parents. I was sure my
and
generation would
and
have
the
been.
heavy cultural conditioning, it's
Oh,
systematic, it's everywhere. And yeah, I mean, my mom too, followed traditional roles, and so I was kind of like a black sheep. They didn't know what to do with me because I just thought of, differently than, like, no, this isn't it should be equal kind of deal.
questioned
um
everything. Yeah, I questioned
yes,
everything.
everything. That's why my mom says she has gray hair. My dad used to say that too. But I think, it is important to unpack the things that we've just accepted as true that may in fact may not be true. And a lot of that conditioning that I talk about is really not true. Most of the limits that are put on women are just made up rules to benefit men in their lives. So it is a good thing to pause and think about it. I just had a client share with me that she told someone she was doing flirting coaching, and her friend, this woman, kind of lost it on her, like, what are you doing? People are going to get the wrong idea. You're putting yourself in harm. And she was throwing out all of the cultural conditioning that, the fear-based, stay in your little lane and be a little girl, be a nice little girl, and, not a woman, be a nice, calm, safe little girl, be quiet. Because if you don't, then something bad is going to happen to you. Men are going to get the wrong idea, and it's going to be your fault.
Well, that's
And
the
she was
whole
like,
thing. The responsibility is always on us to make sure that
absolutely.
somebody else doesn't get the wrong idea. That is so
It's in,
infuriating.
it is. And I said to her, well, how did you respond? And she said, I told her, I know what I'm doing, and that's not what we're doing in flirting coaching. But if you'd like to hear about that, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And I said, while she's really coming from, that's her where she's at. And it could be that that she's been heavily conditioned, no doubt. It could be a whole host of other
Who
things.
knows? Yeah.
But really, that's a way to limit a woman. And that's one area the patriarchy has been successful. But right now we are working on changing that.
I was going to say, and your friend telling you about her friend just, solidifies that there's a need for what you're doing. And I love how your client responded, because it tells you that it's working. It's working with her.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned, oh, go ahead.
Nope, it's fine. I was done with that.
You also mentioned that flirting helps us make space for ourselves.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm gonna use you as an example, Jenny, if that's okay, because I think it's a good you brought it up. You were divorced, you were a single mom, so you were raising your son on your own. You were doing everything to climb the corporate ladder, so you didn't have to be dependent on a guy, because some exes are responsible and do their part financially in other ways, and many do not. And I'm sure when you first started that, there wasn't child support available. So it's very similar for women today. When we're doing all of those things, there is no time for you. Going to get your nails done, that's okay. That's a little bit of time, right? But it's not the same thing as tapping into your personality, your energy, your radiance that lets like you go shh. And when the important thing about that for me is, whenever we can get women in touch with that aspect of themselves, their inner energy that is just shining so beautifully and brightly, I would call that, the God-given divine, or the goddess divine, however, whatever name you give it by, but it's just this radiance of your core essence in a way. Whenever we can tap that in, it impacts everyone that's around that woman. Because other women are like, what are you doing? You're glowing. What are you doing? And so then they begin to want to have that. And it begins to shift their world and the people around them in a way that I think creates more lightness, more beauty, more connection, and certainly deeper connections. So there's a bigger picture to the whole thing in my mind.
And if you're a mom, what a great example to be to your male and female children, of a woman who's living her life from that perspective and bringing that radiance and that joy into a relationship with her children as well. They don't need to know that she's been out flirting necessarily until they're old enough to know about that, but they just know that mom's bringing her whole self here. They feel it.
Right. And when you're able to make room for yourself, I think you're better in every other connection and interaction that you have with people, with your children, with your family, with a partner, if you have that, or with potential partners. It's just, your authentic self is there.
And so the title is called Flirting, Fun, and Confidence. We talked both about the fun of flirting and the confidence that can come around from flirting. Do you have anything you want to add to what we talked about?
Well, I think a lot of times ladies get intimidated by flirting, and a lot of that has to do with the rules. And so they're not even sure how to flirt. They don't know what it is. And I would say, just approach it. First off, think about your boundaries. And then secondly, approach it as just being playful. No expectation beyond that. You have the power, you have the rules. And once you approach it as playful, it sort of helps to shed that stuff off in your shoulders, right? And then you can be present with the other person. And because men have not been conditioned out of play like women have, most men are very easy to engage in play,
Mhm.
and if women's your preference, that has no bearing, that's not my business. I don't, whatever you want to do. It's the same thing. If you've got a woman that's a little more conditioned like all of us, it might take a little bit more time with her, but she's gonna react to the energy of playfulness with you
Mhm.
most often times. So consider it that, and like I said, I often will flirt with a cashier, male or female, doesn't matter to me if they're having a bad day. I'm just being playful with them to lift them up a little bit. So it's not drudgery in the work. Who wants drudgery in work? Not me. And if I can really, in a moment's time, shift it a little bit for someone, I'm going to do that.
And I think when you talk about that, because I mentioned a little bit earlier that it's about letting your personality show through, but you're also demystifying that flirting isn't like this really, not woo thing, but this kind of thing that nobody knows how to do. It's
Right.
just having the confidence and the trust to let yourself shine through. And then it
Mhm.
just comes out in some ways as just kindness, but in
Yeah.
a fun kind of way. But I bet a lot of people tell you, Shirley, you're such fun, right? And were they telling you that when you were
Sometimes.
young as well?
Oh no, I was pretty serious when I was young. I
Okay,
was
so this has
conditioned to be
been
very,
something
very serious. Yeah.
okay. So you're teaching what you had to learn for yourself initially then, right?
Yeah, I think, like I said, it runs in my family, but I think also there was, a big part of my life where I shut it down because I
Mhm.
didn't know about boundaries, because I
Yeah,
didn't understand that I had power. And now in a different place, I not only understand it, but I can help other women tap into it and understand it and really just enjoy life more.
enjoy life more. That's the key. Shelley, I love this. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your experiences, both in the magazine and with us here today.
Thank you, Jenny.
And thanks to anyone else watching this live or the replay on our YouTube channel. Again, to read Shelley's article, as well as other inspiration for your mind, body, spirit, and business, you can go to my website, opwgc.com, and click on the magazine. While you're there, please also check out the On Purpose Woman Global Community. You can also find Shelley's first 2 articles in the magazine archives on that webpage. And a reminder that Shelley's website, shellyoconnell.com, is also in the text of this video, so go check her out and find out what she's all about. Thanks again,
And
Shelley.
I want to real quick let them know that I do a weekly flirting tip. It's free to subscribers. It's called Friday's Flirt. So if they go to my website and scroll all the way down to the bottom of the homepage, they can fill in the form there and subscribe. It's for
Subscribe to
women.
find out about flirting. So great. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you, Jenny.